Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon. Today we're on Parsha 11, but before we do, we give thanks to the Abba. We give him thanks that he took us through the week, that he brought us back. As we go out, as we come back in, he provided our transportation, he provided our food and shelter, clothing, protection, and he provided us the life. This life here and this life ahead. Baruch Hashem, we give thanks, and we give thanks to the Abba for all his provisions, that he protects us as we go along the way, and he protects our people. Wherever they are in the world, we thank him, we bless his holy name. Amen, we amen. Now, as you know that I didn't really want to talk too much about the war, but because things that I wrote many years ago, I think they're evident now. They're coming together, basically. They're coming together. It took a little while, of course, for them to come together, but they are coming together. Middle East is where you should keep your eyes on. And if you note that the areas that I mentioned in my books and my writings was the areas of the Red Sea, was the areas of Iran, Persian Empire, and the sea near the Iranian side, Straits of Hormuz, and those areas which are now coming directly in the focus of world news. Now, I wanted to take you to, before we come back to our Parsha, which is vahigash, Parsha 11, and you've obviously been through the Hanukkah. Last week, Hanukkah is done dusted last week, but I don't know if you knew that there was a little ruckus in Poland, apparently, that they were lighting up the menorah. I think it looked like the Parliament building, and there was a man there who went in with a fire extinguisher, and he put all the lights out on the menorah with a fire extinguisher. It's a bit of a ruckus over there, bit of a scene. And then I think that he was told to leave. He was one of the senators. So one of the senators in the parliament did that. I guess you could Google it and have a look, the exact details. But then what he basically, this guy said, is that how can you be celebrating this satanic festival because of the war going on in Gaza and between Israel? I guess he had his reasons for doing that, and but then they removed him, or at least they told him to go, and whatever other things they took against him. And then what happened was that they may have relit they relit their little Hanukkah. By the way, it's not a menorah; it's a Hanukkah, and they carried on. Now, I can say a lot about this, but I think that I refrain because things are very hostile right now, and I don't know if you know the exact situation that's going on. I'm not, I'm only giving you a proposition as an observance. I don't think I want to make a categoric stand on this position, but I do want to tell you one thing. Whenever we as a people try to take over lands that did not belong to us, we face defeat. Okay? So I think that you can see that evident what's happening in Israel. I don't think that we should be misplacing our love. A lot of people blindly have misplaced their love in favor of an aggressor rather than the victims. So you know what I'm talking about. You know who the aggressor is in this situation. And if you don't know, read the news. Read the news. What's going on? UK has just issued that they will not issue visas to West Bank settlers Jewish settlers who have been committing violence against Palestinian people. Before that, United States did that. They said we will not issue visas to West Bank settlers who have conducted violence against the people. So that's where we are with that. And also, there's other things going on. Listen, we can all be gung ho, and we can all say, yeah, the Jews and all that, the Jewish people. But listen, the Jewish people, like everybody else, are humans, and I can categorically tell you that many ordinary Jews in Israel are not happy with what's going on right now, because the government is very racist, it's very right wing, and it's very anti-human. And forget about anti-Semitic. The government is very anti-human. Anybody who's not Jewish, they're anti-human against them. And that should really spell it out, what that means. So I don't think I need to spell it out. But listen, the Palestinian fighters last week, they blew up about 71 or 78 tanks and vehicles. Israeli soldiers fled the scene. Listen, some of the Israeli soldiers fled the scene, leaving their weapons behind and the missiles behind. And they took out 10 of their top commanders. This has never happened. I said this before, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm a racist. No, I'm not. Or I'm anti-Jew. Being Jewish, my family being of the line of the Jews, I don't think I can categorically be anti-Jewish, but I can at least have a statement. I can have a statement as a what you call it, observation. Observation-wise, as I told you, that we do not, in the past, whenever we have taken lands, we were first categorically told by God not to trespass or take lands of other people. Secondly, if by any chance we took any land, then that was short-lived. I think that this is what's going on over here. Now, Yemen has got involved. I said this before, and I said this many times before, that the powers that be can have their agenda. They think that they can run the world order, but I'm sorry, it's not that simple. Because Yemen has now stood up and started destroying ships that are going through the Red Sea, merchant ships. And the reason why is because first they issue a warning. When the ship people don't listen, they tell them to turn away, and when they don't listen, they blow that ship up. Boom, it's gone. History. Billions of dollars worth of goods are just smoke. Now, it reminded me of a passage in the New Testament, which I thought might be kind of, appropriate in this kind of measure. And maybe, something that we need to just look at it from a different set of eyes. Maybe not from the same set of eyes, possibly from a different set of eyes. And the reason why I say that, let me actually find the passage, because I think if I don't read the passage, you may not understand the context. And it's just, I just found it so very enlightening to look at it from a different perspective. But I need to find that chapter now. Let me look it up. Give me a moment, and it will be. Let's see. I want to go to the book of Revelation over here, and chapter 18 is what I'm referring to. So Revelation 18, and it says here this. Just understand what it says here. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great authority, and the earth was illuminated with his glory. And he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, of her harlotry. The kings of the earth have committed harlotry with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. And I heard another voice saying, coming out of heaven, come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues. For her sins have reached the heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works. And, it then goes on to say, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and will not see sorrow. Therefore the plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Elohim. Strong is, or might say in your Bible, strong is Lord God who judges her. Now, there was one here, verse 11. Verse 11 is appropriate. I should say even verse 9, 10 is. 9, the kings of the earth who committed harlotry and lived luxuriously with her, weep and lament for her, when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. And the merchants of the earth will weep. Listen to this. Merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys her merchandise anymore. Merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of most precious wood, bronze, iron, and marble. Cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil and frankincense, fine wine and oil, fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, bodies and souls of men. Then it says, the merchants of these things who became rich by her will stand at distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, a great city that was clothed in fine and purple and scarlet, and adorned, gold, precious stones, and pearls, for in 1 such hour great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who traveled by ship, sailors and as many as trade on the sea, stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like this great city? Listen. This obviously is a reference to a different country, okay? But it's an allegoric reference back to Israel. Although it's not talking about Israel directly, but it is. It's talking about Jerusalem, but it isn't talking about Jerusalem literally. But symbolically it is, because which ships are being destroyed now? Ships that are going to Israel, merchant ships, and they're passing the Red Sea, and people are looking on, and guess what? Billions of dollars of good have been destroyed. Do you know some billionaires, they're going to go bankrupt over this? Do you know, as I said to you last week, some of the Jewish billionaires, some of those billionaires will go bankrupt, because you might think that, insurance is going to pay everything, but you know how insurances are. They don't always pay everything. So, some money they pay, some money they don't pay. So here what we see here is tragic, but we see the symbolism. This whole scenario really applies to a country called Saudi Arabia, okay? But in this instance, is not applying to Saudi Arabia, it's actually applying to Israel and Jerusalem. Because whenever in the past Jerusalem was in sin, when Jerusalem committed Torah violations, when Torah violations were committed, God punished her, okay? And God used nations to punish her. We didn't have demons come down. We didn't have angels come down to punish Israel. We had humans come down. Humans, Gentiles from other countries. They stood up. They started fighting war. And what do you see right now? A war happening in Israel. Around it. Different countries standing up. Iran, a little bit on the Iranian side. Lebanon. We have Yemen. We have Russia even saying things. So all of this thing, what does that show you? That shows you that Israel's leaders, I'm not talking about the ordinary people in Israel, the leaders in Israel are not making the right decisions. America has already told the leaders in Israel that you have to end this war by the end of first week in January. That's it. We've run out of money, we run out, things to give you, and you have to end this war. You have to claw it back. Joe Biden, the president, you have to claw it back. You have to stop your whatever you're doing. Because it is now beginning to hurt people. And I told you that many Jews are going to be packing their bags and saying, that's it, bye-bye Israel, we are going back. See, I kept telling people many years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, I kept telling people, do not go to Israel, yet is not time. Do not go there, you're going to end up in all sorts of problems. And people didn't listen. Some people sold their homes and went. And those people are ruined today. Those who sold their homes and went, they are in absolute ruins. And those people who, through whatever way, Aliyah and Christians helping them and going over there, guess what? They're looking to come back. They're looking to go back to the countries they came from. They're fed up, with whatever's going on. People have lost loved ones in Israel through whatever, war, through kidnappings, through whatever's going on. Now, that doesn't say that Israel is doing everything right. Clearly, they're not doing everything right. If they were doing everything right, we wouldn't be at this point. I wouldn't be talking about this if they were doing everything right. They are doing everything anti-Torah right now. Everything that Israel is doing right now, Israel's leaders is anti-Torah. I can tell you categorically. Take a prediction from me. Netanyahu is going and gone. Okay? Netanyahu, Bibi. Bibi is going. And Bibi is going to be 6 foot under. This is a prediction for you that I'm going to give you today, that Netanyahu is going to his grave. Yes. He's not just going away as a minister, prime minister. He's going to go to his grave. And people will remember him with very negative words. People are not going to remember this man in good words. The decision he's made and the actions that he's taken, they have affected many, many people across Israel and Palestinian territories. Affected negatively many, many people. Now, I think that is my summation of the war. Now, on the other hand, Russia and Ukraine is losing a battle. Ukraine is badly beaten up by Russia, badly bruised and beaten up, although they don't want to admit it. And America's run out of money, and America's run out of giving them weapons. So unless America decides to start pumping up more weapons, producing more missiles, and sending to Ukraine, right now, they come at a tether's end and saying to Ukraine, hey, listen, we got no more money. So now, I guess the parliament, the senators, they have to approve more money. And as you know, the Republican Party is totally against that, whereas the Democrats might not be. So there's this, this rift going on in America. Many people have lost their job in America. As a result of, there's already a recession in America because, companies are downsizing because of the high interest rates environment, and it's affecting a lot of companies. So this week, the Federal Reserve came in and they said next year, expect to have rate cuts because, we have reached our limit. We think that we've done enough. And next year, we'll be looking at cutting rates because, next year is election year. Whenever there's election year, governments start to cut rates. And so next year there will be rate cuts. So that's a good news for those people who own homes and loans and stuff. So, but it's already affected many people. So coming back home, I think that it is evident that not everything that the government is doing is right in America either. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. So coming back to the Parsha, vahigash, in Bereshith, in Genesis chapter 44, verse 18, it says, Then Yehudah, I'm reading from the Hidden Truths Hebraic Scrolls, Then Yehudah came near to him and said, O my master, please let your servant speak a word in my master's hearing, and do not let your anger burn against your servant, for you are even like Pharaoh. My master asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And we said to my master, We have father, an elderly man, and a child of his old age, who is young, his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children. His father loves him. Okay? So Judah is here, he's with Joseph, and he's telling Joseph that, our father is alive, and he has a son, Benjamin, of course, because Benjamin wasn't alive when Joseph was taken. It was the 10 brothers. The 10 brothers were the ones conspiring against him, against Joseph, but there was no Benjamin at the time. Benjamin was born after, and he obviously was the innocent party. So therefore here, Joseph's going to demand that you bring in Benjamin, and I hold him ransom until you come back and, give the money to take the products that they came for. In other words, they came for food. So here is where also Joseph eventually, declares to him that, or them, that he is their brother, that brother that they sold to slavery, or they tried to kill him. And in chapters 45 we see that Joseph declares that, and then he weeps and with tears, and so do his brothers, and they realize their sin, and the brothers are upset, and at the same time they're afraid that Joseph might try to take a vengeance against them, that he might try to kill them because he's in a state of power now, etc. So that's how the story goes. But what's important in this is what's important, and I want you to pay attention that the end of the story, of course, the end of the story, but more so I want to point out to certain important facets of this story, which is this, that there are times in our life that we go through real difficulty, we go through real problems, hardship. Some of you may have lost a job, some of you may have lost your spouse, and some of you may have lost your mother or father or somebody you loved and they passed on. So we do at times go through this kind of problems, and we do. But it is not that we cry so much about. Of course, there's tears, and of course there's upset people. The people are very upset, and people don't know how to get over it. But what does God tell us? What does God tell us? God tells us in times like these, we have to be strong. God tells us He's going to bring us into a good land. God tells us He's going to bring us into a land with brooks and streams. And God tells us He's going to bless us. So God's always there. God never forsakes His people. God doesn't say, okay, sorry, I haven't got time for you. God always loves you. Number one, we've got to remember that. God always loves you. God never forsakes His people. And God will always be there for you. But it's we that forget that God is there for us. We forget that. Because we forget it, therefore we assume that God doesn't care for us. Now, coming back to Hanukkah, this senator who said that he felt that Hanukkah was a satanic festival and what the Jews were doing was wrong and all that, etc. Sure. All I can comment on that is to say that Hanukkah is not really a festival that's been directed to us through the Bible. It's not a biblical feast. It's an extra feast. It was inaugurated by the people, and its purpose is slightly different for what we come across today. Because it's almost like an answer to Christmas, but Hanukkah is not Christmas, but that's what it's kind of become, giving gifts every day and all that. But it's not biblical feast. If you do it, you do it. If you don't do it, it's okay. Either way, it doesn't really matter. It's not. We are not directed to do Hanukkah scripturally. Torah doesn't direct us to do Hanukkah. So if you don't do Hanukkah, no problem. And those of you do it, no problem. Okay. So it's not satanic as such. However, it has the only reason that the feast or the people that celebrate the feast came under fire is because what's going on in the Middle East. I think that you will agree with me that the decisions that have been taken over there in the Middle East, they're not all accurate decisions. They're not good decisions. Those bad decisions have resulted in what's going on today. And I'm not saying that. Many Jews are saying that. Many Jews are telling you that what's happening in the Middle East is wrong. So, coming back to our lives, coming back to ourselves, our home base, we got to deal with ourselves. Now, how do we deal with people who have problems? Like, what do you do when you lost your job? What do you do when you lost your family? Well, let me give you a proposal. For those of you who lost your job, there are people who lost their job because of downsizing in America. Well, how do we deal with it? There's two ways to deal with it. Number one, you can actually do what I call revision, and you can do a revision exercise in which the revision exercise you never lost your job. In other words, what you do is you close your eyes and you visualize that you are still working at the same place. Nothing changed. You're still working there, and you're working with the rest of your colleagues, and nothing has changed. And you might think, well, isn't that wishful thinking? No, it's not. It's actually a very accurate way to get your job back, because when you start to visualize, when you start to imagine, and you do this action 2-3 times a day, what you will find is that you'll revise it. You'll revise it like you go back. Like let's say you lost your job today, and you go back 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks in the past, and you look and you're still working, and you're with your colleagues and you're laughing and you're joking, and 2 weeks later you're still there. So what happened? You tell yourself, I never lost my job, I'm still working. So when you keep telling yourself you never lost your job, you're still working, what will happen, even though you may have been told, sorry, we're laying you off, your manager will phone you back. Your manager will phone you and say, hey, we do need you, please come back to work. We're reinstating you. So you will not lose your job, because in your revision you saw that you never lost your job. And what will happen in the real 3D, because in your 4D, your imagination is your 4D. In your 4D, you saw that you never lost your job. And in your 3D, that's what will transpire. When you keep repeating that action over and over. Remember last week what I told you. I told you that the dream or the vision that you keep dreaming over and over and over again will come to pass. Visualization, imagination is the dream that you keep doing over and over 3 times a day, every day, and you will come back to the result, which is what? You didn't lose your job. Now, you might on the other hand say, hey, I think that I need a new job because my job is not going to pay me the money I desire. I need a new job. Okay, no problem. Then it's like a bridge. You lose one job to get another. And you might say, well, I want to have $200,000 in my next job. And my previous one was paying $100,000 or whatever. And so you're aiming for a $200,000 job or a $150,000 job. So what you do now, you close your eyes and you revise. Now you look in the future. Now you're doing imagination. Now this is not revision. This is actually imagination for future. And you bring the future to the present in your 4D. And what you're looking at is that you already have a job. You've been working in the job for more than 6 months, and your manager comes up to you and shakes your hand and says, congratulations. Or he says, not so much congratulations. He says to you, thank you for working for us. We're very happy with your work. Thank you. Shakes your hand. It gives you some kind of gift, maybe a bonus, maybe a token, maybe a bottle of wine or chocolate box or something. He gives you as a gift, and maybe it's Christmas time. Maybe it's next year, December 2024, Christmas. He comes to you and he says to you, so-and-so, we are very happy with your work. Here is your Christmas gifts. In other words, you bring the 2024 Christmas to now, in December 2023. And you keep looking at that 3 times a day. Imagine 3 times a day. When you imagine it 3 times a day, you're cementing the fact that you already have a job, and it is a desired salary that you want, and you're working in this company, and the manager is very happy with you. That's what you're going to keep looking at. When you keep looking at that same vision over and over and over every day, you're not going to need to do this for the rest of your life. You're not going to need to do this for the whole year either. You're only going to do this for maybe, in order to cement this vision into your super mind, you're only maybe going to repeat this maybe for a week. Maybe you do it for a week. Maybe you do it for 2 weeks. And before you know it, you'll be back in work. You'll be having an employment with your desired salary. That's how fast this will work. Now, the other way you do it, if you say to me, Rabbi, I'm not a very good visualizer. I have problem visualizing, and I can't seem to focus. Then you can do it the repetitive way, which is a robotic affirmation. The robotic affirmation is where you say, I have a job, X amount of salary. I am working in a great job with X salary, whatever that X salary is for you. And then you just repeat it. You put your telephone stopwatch on 15 minutes, 20 minutes, do it on 20 minutes, boom, 20 minutes, and you do it 20 minutes, take a break, then another 20, take a break, then another 20, take a break. You do it for 1 hour. You spend yourself a couple of hours every day. If you're not working, you have plenty of time to do that. You do that for a couple of hours every day, and robotic affirming, and before you know it, you're going to have your job. That's how easy it is. Again, you might say, but I don't know, I don't believe it. I don't believe it that this is going to work for me. No problem, you don't have to believe it. You just got to say it. Just say it and just do it, and the belief don't matter in this. The actual thing will become cemented. If you keep saying it over and over, it will become cemented. You'll get your job. Similar for the same thing. Same technique for the home, same technique for the job, same technique for health. If you're having healing issues, if you're having health problems, if you're ill or anything like that, again, no problem. Same thing. Exactly the same thing. You do the same over and over again. This is why I suggest to you that you do it this way. This will help you to build yourself up and be the person that you want to be. So it's not hard. It requires work. Okay, it's not hard, but it requires little work. Now, God is always there to bless you. So if you continue to follow what I stated, then you will surely be blessed. Okay, all of you, whoever tries it, doesn't matter what your name is, doesn't matter what your color is, doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, God will still be there for you. Now, it is entirely up to you if you want to receive what I'm telling you and how to receive it. Now, similarly, if you're ill, then you do the same thing. Now, I wanted to mention something, and I think it might be interesting for me to mention it over here in passing, although I don't think that this is what the establishment wants you to hear, but it's important that I tell you. Diseases such as diabetes and diseases such as heart disease, they're not diseases, they're inflammations, they're infections. Consider it as an infection. When you have an infection, then you might get symptoms of diabetes. If you have infection, you might get symptoms of heart disease. And the two reasons why those infections come about, even cancer. Cancer is a result of an infection, and usually the reason why cancer happens is because of parasite infection, parasite in your bodies that can cause you cancer. I saw the X-ray of a woman this week, and the X-ray of a woman she had duodenal cancer, and the duodenal cancer was due to parasites. And yes, there was cancer, but it was due to parasites, and the doctors never caught the parasites. So in order to cure a cancer, it wasn't going to be chemotherapy, because she will never recover from chemotherapy. It'll probably weaken her body and destroy her cells further. The way to cure that woman's cancer is to remove the parasite and then heal the rest of the body. Now, similarly, in diabetes, it is the infection. What does diabetes? Diabetes is basically when your pancreas is not producing enough insulin, and that is as a direct result of an infection. I've seen it with my own eyes with patients. I've seen a patient who's had urine infection, okay? And the doctor told them that they had diabetes, and I told them, no, you don't. Yes, your sugar is elevated for, the last 2 days or whatever, but I said this is total nonsense, that if you believe the doctor is telling you that this is diabetes. Yeah, it looks like diabetes, but it is not diabetes. I said, your problem, I can categorically tell you. I asked a patient about the urine, and the patient said they're urinating a lot, and they felt that that's, diabetic patients have that. And I said, no, it's not diabetes that's causing you to do a lot of urine. You have a urinary tract infection. And I didn't even check her. I just told her, I said, listen, I'll tell you what your problem is. Your problem is a urinary tract infection, and you're going to have burning urine. You're going to be having burning urine. True or false? She said, yes, I'm getting burning urine. I said, end of story. Don't tell me no more. What you need is an antibiotic. I even wrote for her the antibiotic she needs to take. So go take this antibiotic, take it for the next 10 days, and you will be completely cured of your urinary tract infection, and then you will see that your so-called symptoms of diabetes disappear. But, don't rely on the doctor to tell you that, because the doctor wants you to come back to him over and over and over and over again to get medicine and pay him. So I said, that's the problem. The problem in our society is doctors here in our society are not usually to help us. They hinder us, and they want us to keep paying money for them to keep receiving money. whether it's insurance, whether it's NHS, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's the same all over. So that's what I'm finding in my day-to-day life. So similarly, most of you who are going through similar issues, make sure that you look at the underlying thing. Now, if you're having some kind of cancer, it may be as a result of some kind of other infection. If you're having a heart problem, it may be due to an infection either in your sinus, either in your jaw, or either in your stomach somewhere. So that could cause you to have a heart problem, especially in the upper tract. In other words, upper chest area. If you're having any infections in the upper burner, which I call the face side, that could be your sinus, that could be your ear, that could be your jaw. Like maybe you might have a festering root canal thing going on, and you probably won't even know it, and that's causing you to have heart issues, causing you to blood pressure and other things. So anyway, that's what I have witnessed. And there is a clinic in America that treats such things as well, by the way. There is a clinic in America, not far from where I live, in Ohio. And so if any of you are into that situation, if any of you have any of this going on, let me know, send me an email, and I can guide you to the clinic. And you can even speak to the doctor over there, and he'll be able to design exactly the right type of supplements that can bring you out from this whatever disease you have and bring you into your cure. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say that was the information on the disease side. Other than that, I mean, there is things I can say, and there is things I can't say. What I can tell you is that those people that supported me, and please, those of you who were able to support me, remember the girl I told you about who had a broken foot? I did send her some ration earlier this month, gave her some money for ration, as I had some support coming from one of my students. But if any of you are able to support that home, we are at this moment, I'm only supporting one family, okay? A girl with she has about 3 brothers and sisters, and the brothers and sisters are going to a school, some kind of government institution, who are taking care of the children, but they charge about, I think it's, I think it's close to $200 they charge a month to take care of the children. So if any of you can support us in that endeavor, I'd appreciate it, because the fees are due at the end of the month. Usually at the end of the month we have to pay the fees, and I think that it's at least an honorable thing to do, is to support a person with her food and with supporting those brothers and sisters of her. So Baruch Hashem, God will give us a reward in this world for the good things that we do for the people that can help them. So those of you who can assist, just write down girl in need, and I'll know that there's only one family, so either way I will know. Whenever you send that amount, I'll know that it's going to that particular family. Okay, so with that, I want to say that those of you who are coming to the end of the year, we are almost at the end of the year, and we're not far off now, only maybe another week and a bit to go. So with that, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, have a wonderful Sabbath. Do not worry so much about Middle East situation, but pray for the situation, pray for the people who live in the Middle East, those, both of Arab stock, both of Jewish stock, pray for them, that God will, give Israel wise leaders, and God will give America wise leaders to make the right decision for, what's going on over there. So with that, have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat. I say Shabbat Shalom to you, and Shalom, Shalom.